Morning, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Canadian Map Farming Challenge. I have called it Farming Challenge and not Reg Searches. We did start with nothing, but I guess I don't really have a challenge per se, but more of a playthrough. I always enjoy playing games and just starting off with nothing and seeing where it gets me, so that's just kind of where this series is going to take me. But we'll start the day with cleaning off the tractor, as I always like to do. That was a nice view there with the wheel behind the tractor. And then just checking out the water, making sure that it was good to go. And I was checking the contracts, and surprise, there really was not anything to take other than those huge cultivating field contracts. I'm just checking out the strawberries really quick, and they look like they're good to go. And I always like to start the day to check the used vehicle sales to see if there's anything that catches my eye. This wagon was something that interested me, and I was just reading a little bit into it, but we really don't need one right now. But when I saw that tractor, I thought that maybe that would be a possibility. But if you look at our money, we only have $20,000 right now. So I went back to the contract. So I was trying to figure out what to do next. And I thought maybe I could do some baling. And I was just checking here to see what type of bales they need, because if you don't know this, if you're planning on taking baling contracts, you really have to be careful to see underneath the information whether it's square bales or round bales. I also want to apologize because I was messing around with my software that records the video, and I made a mistake, and for about half of this video there is no audio, so you can hear here that you don't hear anything. So it does get fixed later on, but more towards the end of the video. Usually when I'm doing a playthrough and recording, I like to record a day's worth of the farming simulator, and then organize my files, and then go and video edit afterwards. But this time around, I guess I was just really enjoying the game, so I ended up playing a tiny bit of the game before I went and edited the previous video. And I thought it was kind of funny how my tractor here really couldn't function on its own, and I thought that I could put the plow on the back first, but that's not even a plow, the hoe on the back first, and then put on the weight, but that ended up backfiring. So the reason why I was putting the hoe on the back is because when I was looking at those contracts, I saw that there really wasn't anything available. And I'm going to pause right here because I accidentally ran over my weight there. I didn't line it up to put it on, and since it's now on the floor, my tractor won't pick up that weight, which was really unfortunate. I tried many different ways. I thought maybe I had it the wrong way, but yeah, nothing. Oh, it picked up there a bit, but anyways, I did decide that although I barely use the hoe, I was going to sell it, because for now we don't have our own land and we don't necessarily need one. And if there's no hoeing contracts, then why would we waste our money keeping that, because they do depreciate. So kind of like yesterday, I do end up selling equipment that we're not using at the beginning of the day. I wonder how long I go on with trying to get this weight on, to be honest. And here's where I realized, oh no, I knocked it over, and that's just not going to work. So if that's ever happened to you, there is a way to reset it, and I thought at first it was that you had to go to your own vehicles and reset it from there. So you'll see here. But that's not what you have to do. You have to actually, let's see. You actually have to go back to the map. Let's see how long it takes me to figure that out. There we go. Yeah, so you have to go to the map and you have to like kind of zoom in a bit and find what you're trying to reset, and you just press reset. But the thing is that it resets back at the shop. And I was heading to the shop anyway, so I decided that I was just going to reset it there. And I believe I actually remembered right now that I can't really drive this hoer without the weight, so I had to reset that to the shop too. At the end of the day, it kind of made my life a little easier. So just fast forwarding to the shop, I did end up selling that hoe for $33,000. And then I couldn't stop thinking about the tractor that was in the sale section. So I was taking a look at the cultivators because I knew the ones we used yesterday were just trash and were not going to work. So here I am, just looking at the horsepower that is needed and also the working width of these cultivators. So obviously I couldn't afford those really expensive ones, but I had my eye on this one. Had 6 meters of working width, and the horsepower required wasn't too bad. So after taking a look, I did end up selling the red cultivator from yesterday. I mean, looking there, it was only a 3 meter working width, which is pretty small for these huge fields. And I was hoping that that would mean I would have enough for this cultivator, which I did. But before I bought the cultivator, I just, like I said, I could not stop thinking about this tractor. It just seemed like such an amazing deal. So I went back and looked at it again. And again. You can see I really was unsure of what to do here. I obviously don't have enough money. With it being $61,000 in that tractor is quite a lot of money. So I took a look at the finances to see if I could borrow some money. I have never actually borrowed money on this game. And yeah, you can see I actually ended up borrowing quite a lot of money. Like around $50,000. Actually a little bit more than that now that I think about it. And I did end up buying this tractor. I don't really know what the panorama window is and if it's any use to us. I was taking a look at the engine as well because I thought that might be worth it to upgrade. And I kept going back and forth in my mind whether or not I should upgrade that engine or not. And I did end up upgrading the engine because I figured it's already such a good deal that I might as well get that little bit extra horsepower. So at this point, I have just a tractor, 2 tractors, no equipment. So I knew, unfortunately, I was going to have to sell the John Deere. I say unfortunately because, you know, it seems like that's everyone's first tractor, but I knew that it was a good investment for me because I did need a cultivator to go along with the tractor. So I did end up buying this cultivator. It has a 7.5 meter working width, which is wonderful compared to the 3 meters we had before. It's really nice that this tractor kind of matches that cultivator in the back. The cultivator to me looks a little orange, I guess. Anyway, I did end up accepting all three of these pretty large cultivating jobs because I knew that the new equipment would allow me to do them. Now, I am going to say that these jobs took me quite a long time to do. It's not because the equipment was, lagging or slow. It's just these fields are massive. If you think of the first map I did my last series on, I can't even, Bend Springs, I believe it's called. There weren't contracts that were this big for cultivating. So of course it feels like a long time to do something that huge. So I went back here because I was considering getting the weight, but I kind of tested around a bit and it didn't seem like it needed a weight. Anyways, I was really lucky because my first job was literally right across the street from the shop, which was really nice. I think what I'm going to do, because these jobs do take quite some time and have hours and hours of footage, what I'm going to do is just show a beginning, a middle, and end of each of these three first contracts of the day. Okay, those 3 contracts are done. They weren't too bad. Like I said before, it just took quite a long time, but I accepted this cultivating job. I don't know if you could see briefly when I showed it on the map, but it's a really interesting field because there's actually trees in the... Have you ever seen a farm in real life that has a row of trees? I feel like I might have, but I wonder what the purpose of having that row of trees in the middle is. Is it just to be aesthetically pleasing, or is it to help keep maybe animals away? I don't know, I'm just throwing some ideas out there. As for the editing of this field, I'm going to do just as I did the last 3. I'll show you the beginning, the middle, and the end. Wow, what an interesting field to cultivate. I'm sure you noticed that I basically started going around both fields. I say fields because I treated it as if it were 2 fields. I don't think it would be really possible to do like my technique of going to every other row with those trees in the middle. I guess I could have treated the trees as a row, but in my mind it just made a lot more sense to, you know, treat it like 2 fields. So yep, right here we're about to end the contract. Now at this time it was 4 o'clock and we actually got, so we accepted that $18,000. That was awesome. And we actually got really lucky because we ended up accepting 2 more cultivating jobs to end the day. You'll see one of them is really tiny, but it kind of shows you how good this equipment is at doing such a small job. So we'll start with the big field and we'll end with the tiny field. Actually, before we start, I approached the field and I saw that it looks like a black grain. You can see it a lot better here. So I stopped and took a look at what this was called. It's called millet. And I believe this is one of the new crops for this map, in the Canadian map. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was pretty cool, that it was like a black field. Okay, and we are going to wrap up here for the day. So I'm just dropping off the tractor and the cultivator, and I'm really curious when our first pallet of strawberries will come out, or if one will even come out at all. The videos I've watched with these greenhouses have all had like a loading zone on the side, and I was looking all around the greenhouse here to see if I had any loading zones, and I don't see one, so I'm not sure if maybe that's something I have to add or what. But maybe it's a good thing that there's no strawberries coming out now, because I know they aren't at the most profitable time right now. Anyways, I double checked to see if there were any more cultivating contracts, and there weren't any good used vehicles. So let's just take a look at our finances. So we had, before we do, I did end up repaying a lot of the loan that I took out today. You can see at the very bottom that I have $170,000 left on the loan. And I wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to pay more, but I do end up paying as much as I could for the day. Overall, we did spend a lot of money today, but I also think we made a lot of money, and I'm really happy with the decisions I made for the first time in a very long time. See ya!